A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that. There's no doubt about that. And all along those lines, so let's see what's happening in the world and what's going on in the world and all in that space. But Farage wins a special UK election that he initiated as expected. Nigel Farage faces renewed watchdog probe after Clacton by-election victory. So Reform UK's Nigel Farage beats a slate of fringe candidates in election boycotted by major parties. So that's something that folks are talking about in that way. Two UAE tankers attacked while transiting the Strait of Hormuz, and other news from the Middle East. UAE accuses Iran in the Strait of Hormuz as Vance says cheap oil is definitely something that folks are talking about as well. So definitely this is something that is in the news and that folks are talking about and all along those lines. And UAE accuses, oh yeah, Advanced says cheap gas are goal number one. So he's saying that cheap gas is the goal number one. And UAE says Iran attacked two ADNOC vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. No injuries. Italian NATO fighter's jet shoots down drone in Latvian airspace. And NATO jets drowns drones as concerns grows over Russian threat. NATO aircraft shoots down drone over Latvia, which blames Russia. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. So definitely that's something that is being reported in the news and along those lines. Will Sudan's El Abid become the next El Fasher? What to know? RSF renews assault on Sudan's El Abid as drone strikes capital, witnesses say. Sudanese Air Army rebels RSF drone attacks on Khartoum for the second day, and as the army turned the page on the control of the western Sudan. Huckabee calls the Israeli settlers terrorists. Can U.S. push in the Qasra siege? Israeli settlers' siege of Palestinian homes draws a sharp U.S. rebuke. U.S. ambassadors call the settler siege of Palestinian homes a horrific act of terror. And Jared Kushner is reportedly planning an Israel visit for Gaza talks. With Trump's Hamas deal in peril, Kushner is set to visit Israel for Gaza talks. Kushner is set to visit Israel and Egypt next week for these Gaza talks. And we'll see how this plays out as well. And heavy rains in Japan leave thousands stranded at Narita Airport. Unprecedented rain in Japan kills 8 people. Record-breaking rain floods Chiba, east of Tokyo, killing at least 5 people. So this is definitely something that the weather is impacting and all in that space. Rain Air passenger injured after being partially sucked out the window. So bird remains found in engine of Runar window blowout plane. Engine part smashed Ryanair window that man's head was sucked out of, report says. So a jet engine fan blade cut into the plane and caused the passenger to be partially sucked out of a plane, is what the NDSB is saying. So definitely that is something. There's some very sad news that is coming out of our plane travels and all in that space. Deadly earthquakes expose stark divide between Colombia and Venezuela responses. Colombia earthquake is deja vu for Venezuelans. The government's response is anything but, is what the AP is saying. And Topos Azteca, a Mexican volunteer rescue group, helps with rescue efforts after the Colombia earthquake. And more than 135 million people in Europe face temperatures over 35 degrees Celsius. So that is something else that folks are talking about as well. So definitely that is something that is in the news also. And we'll see what folks have to say about this hot weather. It's hot here and even in Durham, North Carolina. Heat is hammering Europe again, and alarm bells are ringing for investors on the climate. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about. European countries battle multiple wildfires as record heat grips the continent. And North Korea denounces upcoming U.S.-South Korea military drills. North Koreans denounce upcoming U.S.-South Korean drills, vow stronger nuclear deterrence. And North Korea threatens strong response ahead of the U.S.-South Korea military drills. And definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. Afghan women erased from public life in 5 years of Taliban rule. The Economist says the Taliban are vow democracies must still engage with them. And Afghan women tell BBC of beating and buried dreams, and that was reported in the BBC. So Afghanistan marks 5 years under the Taliban with safer streets, but pleas for jobs and education. Millions across Europe witnessed the historic solar eclipse. So definitely millions crowded the cities to see Spain's first total solar eclipse in over a century. The first moments of the eclipse were uneventful. Then came the magic, is what was reported in the Washington Post. And in pictures, according to the CNBC, Europe's best solar eclipse since 1999. And from Europe to Asia, floods to heat waves, world experiences weather shock. And U.S. cannot verify Israel warning of Iran plots against Trump, sources say, which Trump officials joined him on his secret flight out of Turkey, is what the New York Times is asking. CIA had low confidence in Iranian threat before Trump switched planes in Turkey. U.S. intel officials assessed threat that Trump was not credible ahead of Air Force One switch. And Trump announces drone tariffs to bolster U.S. supply chains and counter China. Trump is imposing tariffs of up to 100% on imported drones, citing national security. Trump administration to impose tariffs on drone imports, the White House is saying. And Taiwan briefly slows its mobile internet to text-only speed as part of a defense deal. So how a drone hellscape might stop a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. TikTok wouldn't open at all. Taiwan stimulates an internet blackout with an eye on the China threat. And Japan protests as Russia's Putin visited the disputed Kuril Islands. So Vladimir Putin's first visit to the disputed Pacific Island draws Tokyo protests. And Japan's prime minister says Putin's visit to the disputed island is absolutely unacceptable. And Putin faces humiliating new crisis after a shock attack. So Russian regions report new fuel crunches as Kyiv hits refineries. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. So lots going on in that space, and a lot of folks are talking about that as well. Russian seaborne oil products imports dropped 33% in July. Data from sources are showing, and Russian diesel exports crashed to a multi-year low amid a tight global market. Passenger train derails and flips in southern England. Passengers tell of terrifying experience after train derails in the UK. Safety inspection of track carried out days before the train crash in southern England. 2 seriously injured with 18 others hurt after the train derails in East Sussex. Low Danabi water levels force Romanian nuclear plant shut down. Romania shuts down its last nuclear reactor as drought hits Danube River drops to record low. Romania shuts nuclear plant. Hungary dams the dry Danube River. So Romania shuts the only nuclear plant as heat causes drops in that particular river's levels and all along those lines. Mount Etna eruption disrupts flights at Catania. Hundreds of flights canceled in Sicily as Mount Etna erupts. Persistent Etna ash hits Catania Airport during the peak holiday week. Etna ash keeps the Catania Airport shut until Friday, disrupting summer travel. JD Vance is learning an important foreign lesson the hard way, and that's something that was reported in Slate.com. Ukraine offers Russian troops in Black Sea as food supplies are fears mount. And JD Vance asked Ukraine to halt strikes on tankers using the Russian port. So that's definitely something that folks are talking about as well. So lots going on in the world. You're going to bring in Rick Rosner, see what he's got going on in his world. Poland thwarts an alleged Russian plot to kill U.S. citizens. Poland says it thwarted a Russian plot to kill an American citizen in Warsaw. Poland says it thwarted the Russian assassination attempt on the U.S. citizen in that area. And it looks like that's what Poland is saying. They thwarted that in that line. The next total solar eclipse will be the longest yet to come. So definitely how to catch the solar eclipse of the century in 2027 when Spain, Egypt, and more go dark. So that'll be next year. So mark your calendar for the upcoming Ring of Fire and the eclipse of the century. So apparently you might want to travel to other parts of the world to see the eclipse of the century. And huge oil spills off the coast of Oman now covers hundreds of square miles. So huge oil slick hitting Oman's shorelines as agencies warn of disaster. So that's definitely something that we're seeing in the news. And also Saudi Arabia is considering supporting the Yemeni ground push against Houthi forces. So Houthi attacks kill 6 in the Red Sea. Trump slams Iran as hopes for Hormuz Strait deal is dimming. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. And I did see that there was an election in Africa and everything along those lines. So I'm trying to see where I saw that at, but that was something that was going on. I think it might have been the BBC that was talking about that election in Zimbabwe, if I remember correctly. So let me see if I can find that information, since we do like to cover all of the parts of the globe and everything like that. So yes, definitely looks like there was a to see if I can get to the news of what's going on in Africa, the BBC Africa. But I do think that there was a election that was going on. I want to say it was in Zimbabwe, but let's see if I am right or not right and everything along those lines. So get to BBC Africa and see what's going on there. Yes, potential vote count halted in Zambia over alleged attacks on the polling staff. So the Electoral College said violence had resulted in the theft of marked ballot papers and U.S. missionary release following kidnap in Niger, Christian group says. Kevin Rideout, who was kidnapped outside of his home in the capital last October, is now with U.S. officials. And Nigeria to miss the Women's World Cup after South Africa and Ghana win the presidential playoffs. And the pardon for the president's main rival in Chad, and all in that space. And presidential pardon for French alleged spy accused of plotting the Mali coup, and all in that space. So definitely it looks like a burial row over Zambia's late president has turned its election into a hot contest. So definitely looks like there's some contests that are going on in Africa and all in that space. So I'll get Rick up and all in that space, see what he's got going on in his world and everything like that. So how are you doing, Rick?
I'm okay.
Good.
No pants on, but you don't need to. You don't get to see that.
I don't want to see that.
It's hot here, so I haven't had pants on for these shows for like weeks.
Wow. Well, it's hot here too, and I've actually gone bare on a couple of just walking around the house things as well because it's been hot here as well.
So this is day 104 of gas national average being over $4 a gallon under second term Trump, with no relief in sight. Let's see, it's 81 days until the midterms. That's 11 and a half weeks. I saw an interesting thing, which is the Senate candidate, Abdul Al-Said, the Democratic Senate candidate out of Michigan. Mm-hmm. There's a clip he put up a year ago of him bench pressing 315 for 2 reps, which is pretty impressive. If he wins, I think that would probably make him the strongest guy in the Senate.
Yeah, I would think so. But then there was also something that came out recently where he had like some social media thing that, and I didn't see what it was. But
he said that he played high school football, but he said that there's maybe too much toxic masculinity in football. And then that led to Republicans saying that he hates America, he hates football. Well, no, he was captain of his high school team. It's all kind of trivia and bullshit at this point, but really that's all the Republicans have to run on, because their performance for the past year and a half has been bad. They haven't delivered on anything they promised, except maybe, shutting down the southern border. Besides that, inflation up, prices up, gas up, jobs down. So they yell about trans issues. They yell about hating America and socialism and not being masculine enough. It's a bunch of bullshit.
It sounds like a whole lot of BS.
So, in Dr. Sharif, is masculinity like a national priority in Bangladesh?
Yes. Right now we have a massive challenge with energy. Mm-hmm. We don't have gas for cooking. We have load shedding, for this electricity supplies and all of the things. And I think that it takes a lot of time because still this Middle East is not stable at all. So for these issues, there are 3 components happening. Number 1, our manufacturing industry is heavily affected by the lack of energy. So they cannot continue their operation properly. Same way, many of the people, they are losing job because of this manufacturing industry cannot making money because lack of energy. Secondly, what I'm observing, in our countries, in every house, they have a problem with the gas. problem with electricity. Outside Dhaka, I'm observing many people are go for a lot of discussions and other things for this energy related problem. Third things, when a country has, especially country like Bangladesh has unemployment problem, economic problem, energy related problem, that time crime also increase, right? So honestly speaking, prostitutions, hijackings, robberies, and many things increase. Even young peoples, they also face a lot of challenge. So how I see this challenge, it's look like a massive. It's look like it will create a negative impact for Bangladesh. Um, I don't know what will happen. We have to wait and see what will happen. Yeah. Thank you.
That makes sense. I see that the case of Luigi Mangione is expected
Hold on.
to.
No, wait. I want to finish with. So I looked it up, and you get more of your energy in Bangladesh through the Strait of Hormuz. You get liquefied, not just crude oil and gas, and but also LNG liquefied. It all comes through the Strait of Hormuz, and so you're getting screwed up by this war even more than the U.S. is. So
Yes, and Bangladesh also joined with this alignment with Saudi Arabia, right? So US and Saudi Arabia alignment, Bangladesh joined with our defense and so on. So it's look like it's very complex and very challenging situation right now, specifically for energy and economics.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything like that. I did see that Trump has asked the Supreme Court to allow the White House ballroom construction to continue. So, concerned about Trump's ballroom project, Senate Democrats are seeking an audit. So, a concrete frame and 4 towering walls. Trump's ballroom has been blocked by bills covered, but apparently it's taking shape. So, we'll see what there's going, because they're definitely saying the costs are rising, and what we know about the secret underground bunker. So, apparently there's a secret underground bunker there as well.
Okay.
And it looks like Rich LaFella Punk faces justice after kicking a helpless sea lion in a viral attack. So apparently this is something going on. I guess La Jolla is in California, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But a man was caught on a video kicking a sea lion, and he pleaded guilty. So he's going to face federal time, because apparently that's a federal crime to kick a sea lion and everything like that.
Yeah, some idiot decided to. Okay, so. So a couple of days ago, we got inflation numbers for the month of, I think, 3.4% for July. Today, we've got retail sales down by 0.6%, 0.5% more than forecast. Well, 0.7% lower than they expected retail to go up by 0.1%. Instead, they fell by 0.6%. So consumers are less willing to spend, less optimistic. And so one more thing that makes the economy look not great.
Yep. And I guess the military's got something to do in D.C., because a World War II memorial on National Mall was vandalized with graffiti and bubbles. So apparently they were, I don't know how you vandalize something with bubbles, but apparently they did that and everything like that. And the investigation is underway after the vandalism, and the bubbles were found at D.C.'s World War II memorial. And it looks like it was also had some pink spray paint and the fountain overflowing with bubbles. So we'll find out what they were protesting and what was going on in that situation. But yeah, apparently there was some vandalism, so the National Guard has some work to do. And the Kennedy Center Board votes on renovations and the Donald Trump name. So Kennedy Center Board restores Trump's name, testing the judge, because the judge actually said that he had to get rid of the name.
The judge said that you can't put Trump's name on the Kennedy Center, that by law, it's a memorial for our assassinated President Kennedy, and you can't add somebody else's name by law. Right. And Trump says he wants to spend his board, which is all hand-picked jackasses like Laura Ingraham off of Fox News. He got rid of the old board and just replaced it with his hand-picked people. They want to spend $250 million shutting it down for 2 years and renovating it. except that 7 years ago, in 2019, they spent $250 million remodeling and renovating it. So you don't need to do that after 7 years. This is pure spitefulness and pure Trump wanting to piss on everything in Washington, D.C., to put his mark on everything. It's a waste of money. I'm sure, it'll be a little nicer, but they just remodeled it and fixed it up in 2019. It's a massive waste of money to feed Trump's ego.
And I know that Tasha's a big fan of the symphony, and apparently the National Symphony is in crisis because of the things that are going on with the Kennedy Center and not being able to perform and having this break and everything like that. So it looks like they are in serious crisis and everything like that. And apparently a judge dismissed Trump administration lawsuit alleging anti-Semitism at Harvard. So the Trump administration's anti-Semitism lawsuit against Harvard was dismissed by a federal judge. So another case that he has lost and everything like that. So definitely we'll see how this all plays out.
That was just one other way for Trump to fuck with universities, saying that they were being mean to Jewish students, which is mostly garbage. Because if you look at the percent of Jewish students at like Columbia, Harvard, UCLA, Jewish people are only 2% of the U.S. population. And they're probably 20% of the student body at the Ivies. So it's just Trump like grabbing at whatever bullshit he can to get revenge on things he doesn't like, such as universities.
Well, apparently he also wants to get revenge at China because the White House is apparently exposing something they're calling the transshipment scam costing the U.S. up to $26 billion. So Trump's White House says China avoids billions in tariffs by rerouting goods. And I know you were talking about that with the things that you bought from Temu and everything, but apparently India is also in the U.S. crossfires again as well. So the White House reports cites countries enabling China's tariff evasion. So I think that they're saying that India is helping them in that regard. So it looks like he's going after China and India, two of the major Asian powers and everything like that. So what's our take on this notion of him going after China and
Sasha
India?
can talk about tariffs in a second, but I got to say that tariffs do not help an economy. The Great Depression didn't have to be the Great Depression, except that one of the things they tried after the Depression started in 1929 was the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, which absolutely wrecked not just the U.S. economy, but contributed to the whole world's economy turning to crap. And job growth in the U.S. is down 88% since Trump introduced tariffs back in March of last year.
Yeah.
There is a big problem with the tariffs is that, first of all, they've already been recognized by court illegal, okay? And U.S. Treasury had to return $100 billion of tariffs which were charged against the law, illegally, in other words. So this is a big problem here. And never mind that they are not working economically, and they are just destructive to your own economy and the economies of other countries, but they're just simply put illegal. So why Trump is doing something what is illegal and has been recognized by court illegal, and besides it's only supposedly the Congress supposed to levy the tariffs on other countries in exceptional cases, but not the president. So it's all wrong, like everything with Trump. Everything is wrong, and there has to be a punishment one day, and hopefully the day is coming soon.
However, so tariffs function as a tax. Now, it turns out consumers kind of pay it via higher prices. But that money goes to the U.S. To spend on stuff the way tax money does, except no, in this case, it just causes consumers to get ripped off because the $128 billion that we got through tariffs that could have been used to pay for government stuff has been ruled illegal and has been returned to corporations which have just taken it to reduce their bottom line and haven't returned any of that money to consumers. Apple got $2.2 billion back from the government. People who bought Apple products that were more expensive because of the tariffs do not get any refund. So the government doesn't get income, and American citizens don't get money back. So the only beneficiary is big corporations. So it's crap. And also we're back under tariffs again because Trump, having been ruled illegal for his first set of tariffs, came up with a different bullshit reason for imposing tariffs, which is that it's a way to fight slave labor, which is again going to get shot down in the courts. And again, the U.S. is going to have to return tens of billions of dollars.
Well, there's a group of folks that are Trump allies, and at least some of them are, and that's the gun owners. And apparently they've got a ruling that did go in their favor. So the Justice Department leaves in place rulings that deregulates silencers, shotguns, and certain rifles. So it looks like they have reversed the decades-old restrictions and everything like that. So it looks like you can actually get some of these guns that can be very dangerous and everything like that. So
you can buy silencers now, where I think there were plenty of states and municipalities where you couldn't buy silencers. Right. And there's been a lot of discussion about this. And silencers don't really silence. They don't make guns silent. They make them a little less noisy, but people around you are still going to know you fired a gun. What they do is they make, if guns give you a boner, a gun with a silencer gives you even more of a boner because it looks extra cool. But it's mostly bullshit. Also, even if a silencer does work, it only works for a couple shots after they degrade very fast.
Yeah, that's very much true and everything like that. So definitely that. Oh, it looks like there's a tropical storm in Hawaii that folks are talking about as well. So that's one of the news stories that I saw. What's going on with this USS Abraham Lincoln? Have you been following that? Because it looks like the new aircraft carrier is headed to the Mideast after reports of issue on the long deployed Abraham Lincoln. So I guess they're going to
So they've been out at sea for more than 250 days, which I think sets a record, which is also ridiculous since we're not at total war, right? World War II was total war, right. And people were expected to make insane sacrifices to save the world. We're not saving the world. We're dicking around with Iran, putting people at sea for more than 2/3 of it. And battleships, carriers don't really have windows, right? Mm-hmm. So these people, the sailors are cooped up. They can't, just kind of underground, just in these terrible spaces for 250 days. It's hard to get them, since they're at sea, fresh stuff. They don't have milk. By the time they get meat to them, sometimes the meat is bad. The toilets don't work. Several people have thrown themselves overboard out of despair. It's a bullshit way to treat America's military.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And speaking of BS and all along those lines, but it's not really.
Sasha's got a point on that.
Yes, I
just wanted to understand why the military that cannot defeat Iran, and for that matter, any other country that ever had fight with in the last 80 years, why do they deserve 5-star hotel experience? They should get whatever is available. And because of the Pentagon is now increasing its budget to $1.5 trillion, and they're serving themselves steak and lobster dinners, I really don't understand why they cannot provide better conditions for their people. I really don't. It's a corruption 101. That's all.
Well, part of it is logistic. It's bad decision making at the top that has this aircraft carrier at sea for more than 8 months, and it's wherever it is at sea. It's far enough away from supply sources of fresh fruit and meat and milk.
Really, $4.5 trillion, you should have A1 logistics for this money. How much money you need to have a normal logistic? What, $5 trillion, $55 trillion? What do you need? Tell me, what do you need to provide a normal logistic, not super logistic, just a normal logistic?
I don't know. Wherever they are, somewhere in the Arabian Sea, somehow it's far enough from shore that they can't get, they buy the fruit at some market in Abu Dhabi, and they can't get it. It's too far away to somehow ship it to the sailors on this aircraft carrier in time for it not to be rotten.
Yeah.
So get your things, pack your things, and go home. That's the message. That's all what there is to it.
It sounds like it and everything like that. Hey, the Pope is in the news again. So, Rick, apparently the Pope, and I'll be interested to hear what other religious leaders have to say, is saying that Catholics must form that Sunday Mass must form Catholics through reverent worship. So basically, he's saying that attendance at Sunday Mass cannot be replaced by virtual participation, because we know that during the pandemic, a lot of churches went very virtual and everything like that. So he's claiming that Sunday is the foundation and kernel of liturgical year and everything like that. So it looks like he's asking more and more people to go back to church and everything like that. But I know even the church that meets here on Sundays in one of our classrooms, they have a virtual component because there's only a few people that can actually come to the service. So what's your take on this? Because I'm thinking this would impact everybody from the Hindus to the Jews to the Muslims to a number of others. But I do know that
that's pretty interesting, because this is a controversy that goes back more than 500 years. Where the Catholic Church says that you can really only talk to God via the church being the translator for you. You've got to go through the church. Your prayers have to go through the church. I guess you have to show up at church to talk to God. And then the reformers like Martin Luther, and who formed Lutheranism and Methodism and Presbyterian, all those people, like a lot of those Christian sects, are more recent than Catholicism, and they said you can pray directly to God. So this is interesting because it revives an issue that has been around, since just after the frickin' Middle Ages.
Yeah, it's been around forever and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and whether people are going to go back more to the churches. Because I mean, there's some very large churches, even here in North Carolina and other places, that have a massive congregation, but some of them also have the ability to go virtual if people are bedridden or whatever.
We were talking a little bit about this yesterday, where there are 2 billion Muslims, there are 2.4 billion Christians, with the largest Christian sect being Catholicism.
Right.
But nobody does what the Jews do, which is that they state the level of religiosity. You can pick it. So the Jews have Reform Judaism 200 years ago. Some people said, we've been the rituals of Judaism are keeping us from assimilating into the places where we live. So we're going to come up with Judaism light. So you can, when you join a temple, it can be Reform, which is very liberal, and the services are shorter, and it's much more secular. So you can be a Reform Jew, you can be a conservative Jew, which is middle level commitment, or you can be Orthodox, which is you're pretty much sticking to the rituals of antiquity, which is, I think, a great way to do a religion. I think other religions should offer different levels of religiosity.
Different levels, that might be good. Hey, I see that Jacoby's joined us. I got a question for him, since I've got my nephews is off to school, and the other one will be going to early college. So he'll actually, both of them will be taking college courses next year and everything, this coming year and everything along those lines. But I just saw an article in Futurism. They said college kids are using AI agents to take in our entire online classes for them by basically cheating and everything like that. So I just wondered, how concerned are you about this? Because AI agents are apparently taking entire online courses for cheating students. If they
Yeah,
want to.
I think it did. I think education is in a frickin' shambles right now. From middle school on up, there is chaos because everybody's using frickin' AI, and it makes it hard to test what people know. People aren't learning. People aren't. There's actually a decline in IQs, in thinking skills, in reading skills, in the ability to plow through a chapter in a book and understand what you've read. Yeah, it's bad. Now, it's not necessarily, it could be just the modern way of being. I've said it before that when wolves became domesticated into dogs, they became stupider because they outsourced their thinking to humans. Now dogs live in worlds that they don't understand at all, and they let humans do all the thinking. And so we're outsourcing our thinking to technology. And yeah, so without the tech, we're going to be like vulnerable and stupid. But we always have the tech now. So is it the worst thing in the world that without tech we're dumb little vulnerable, naked to the world and unable to understand it? I don't know. It's a change, and it seems terrible to old people like me, but is it really? I don't.
What's your take on that, Jacoby? Because I actually just saw another AI article that was a friend of mine that went to ChatGPT and basically asked to describe themselves based on what they found in the phone if they were not here and everything like that. And actually they got the description that was read back to them pretty much and nailed them to the T in terms of the things that they were interested in, their hobbies, their causes, and a number of other things as well. So it definitely nailed them to a T from what I read and everything like that. So what's your take on this notion of AI kind of like the kids becoming overly dependent on it? I mean, back in the day, we had the Cliff Notes, and a lot of us were overly dependent on the Cliff Notes. So maybe AI is the new form of the Cliff Note. But what's your take on this AI cheating?
Your voice isn't coming through.
Yeah, your voice isn't coming through. I don't know what's going on.
Oops, I pushed mute on the microphone. But yeah, it's happening, and it's just going to continue to happen. It's only going to get worse because there's no real way to stop it. At this point,
I want to get Chitovi's thought on El Said. So the Republicans, having nothing to run on, are running on bullshit like calling Democrats pussies. And then there's a clip of El Said from last year. He's the Democratic candidate for the Senate out of Michigan. And there's a clip of him doing reps with 315 bench press, which is a crazy thing for a middle-aged politician to be able to do.
I mean, they're going to use everything they can, any cultural war idea they're going to put out there because they know the culture wars they get picked up. People go and talk about Tallarico out of Texas, and that's what they did out there. He's not manly enough, they're using it, trying to use El Said's full name to as code the same way they did Barack Obama's name.
Yeah.
So it's the culture wars. They have nothing to run on. It's the Southern strategy. That is what was run on the Southern strategy. That is what Donald Trump has stayed in power on. The Southern strategy. It is all they've never run on anything outside of the Southern strategy.
So
if you look at his campaign in 2016 and the name calling and I'm doing this, and he didn't do anything. He never really put forth anything, but everybody demanded basically a detailed copy of a plan from the Democrat Party, but nothing from the Republican Party. It was just Donald Trump out there yelling and doing culture war stuff.
Yeah, and we've seen that the principle is you can get people to vote against their best interests if you get them, especially stupid people, riled up about culture war bullshit. Like
Yep.
right now, you've got 2 or 3 men who are threatening to call themselves women and sign up for the WNBA. And the WNBA is having some kind of meeting where they're trying to come up with a definition of women, of
And
woman.
that's dumb.
And
That's dumb.
it's dumb. They're playing into it. They could just tell these guys to fuck off, but instead they're trying to come up with this like policy. And yeah, you're right. They're
And
stepping into the stupid trap.
Yeah, that they just fell right into it because there is no transgender individual playing in the WNBA. There isn't a transgender individual even attempting to play in the WNBA. So you're creating a controversy because you're distracting from everything else and getting people talking about a boogeyman because, oh, now they're playing our game. No, you don't need to play that. That's why, like I said, I get to be the oddball and people yell and you know, that's why the other individuals don't like it when I'm on here because, hey, I'm not gonna take that mess. No, Jack, you're not gonna like Nick when he plays that game. No, we're not playing that game.
So there's a term that sounds racist, but I don't think it is, called tar baby, which comes from Brer Rabbit. And what it is a trick that you make something that looks like a baby out of tar, which is super sticky, and then you leave it someplace, and people are like, "Ooh, a little baby, defenseless baby," and you run over to take care of the baby, and you pick it up, and now you're stuck to the tar baby. And all these culture war issues are freaking tar babies that if you fall for it and you pick it up, then now you've got this mess stuck to you.
So actually, the term is actual racist because it came before Blair Rabbit. It was actually created before that because of the color.
All right. I apologize for
but
using
no. That's where the discussion comes into play, where we talk about it. Hey, this is where it actually and stuff like that. Like, I mean, historically, there like the Mickey Mouse of today has never really thought about it. Well, I mean, people who've seen Mickey Mouse, they think, you know, Mortimer Mouse, where it came from and stuff like that. But it was actually a play on blackface when it originated. That was a long time ago. But, you know, that, of course, people discussed, and that's how, you know, I mean, Mickey Mouse of today, nobody thinks of that. But so there's history in our history is deeply rooted within a lot of racism and a lot of issues that we've never discussed. And that's what has created that division. And until we patch that division, we can't, there's always going to be a little bit of animosity because the lack of understanding and maybe having a misstep. And so having a discussion around those missteps and understanding where the history came from and just moving forward is the way to go, because that's how you come together. But either way, I say all that just to get back to, I mean, the whole falling into the trap. The fall, like you were talking about, the falling into the trap is the problem. And instead of falling into the trap, hey, just push back. Be honest. Did I say that? Is there any point? Is there any factual proof? And then even in a debate, you know what they're going to say. So honestly, Eminem in 8 Mile, that's the game you play. They're going to get up here and they're going to say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I've never said this, but hey, you know, they want to discuss it. Ask them to prove it. Tell them when I said it. Tell them to prove to me that I've said this. Show me with the abortion debate. My big question around the abortion debate is, you know, it's none of my business. Prove to me that it's supposed to be my business. It's not. Whatever that woman decides, that's her choice. That's not my choice. It's not my business. So all these things, it's just, we fall into the trap and we play that game. And that's honestly what the youth movement is about. Because if you listen to the base that's out there, that youth movement, they're tired of hearing that somebody's today a communist, tomorrow a socialist, 2 days down the way, they're a fascist. So at what point are we? But it happens every time. And that's what the Republican Party is doing. And Donald Trump has played that card way too much.
For old people, it's extra frustrating because we remember a time when we were kids that the Democrats were really good at messaging. The like the yippies in the 1970s. They went some liberal activists, some hippie activists went to the New York Stock Exchange and made it rain. They threw a few $100 bills into the stock trading pit and watched all the traders go crazy. And it was just a satire on money grubbing, and it made for great footage. Since the 70s, the Democrats seem to have lost the messaging race. Sasha, you got something other than what we've been talking about?
I think you have to concentrate on the very sort of decisive message that the Democrats should bring to the election. It's economic inequality in the United States. That's number one issue. All the rest you can talk a little bit on the left side or on the right side and in the middle or so on. The one that can unite all Democrats and independents and even some Republicans is financial inequalities. Number one, nothing else matters because there would be better financial situation, so more people would be able to put bread on the table. The life would be so much easier, and with that you can look into other issues. But before you solve the inequality gap in the United States, nothing else is important. And you have to concentrate and just repeat one simple thing over and over. You don't need any other thing. You don't need all these issues about race or religion. That's all secondary. Just concentrate on economic equality, which hits everyone. It has hits all religions, religious people and anti-religious people and racists, all of them.
While you were talking, I just tweeted out, are you better off now than you were 2 years ago? This is, I think Reagan was the first one to use this as a campaign tactic. Yeah. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Well, 2 years ago, Biden was president. We had a recovering, strong economy. And it was recovering from Trump, who fucked everything up the first time around. And it took years of Biden to kind of clean up the mess. But again, Biden sucked at messaging. So he should have been getting out in front of the people and explaining what was going on. But he kind of hid out, and it again gave the Republicans a messaging advantage.
Well, it's just that's not what the Democrat Party right now doesn't understand the social media world. That's where we are now. It's an evolution. Once Donald Trump came along, that evolution really kicked in, and they've been behind.
Frickin' Obama was great at messaging, but Obama was president from 2009 until 2017. So, I mean, we were still pretty social media-ish there, but Trump wasn't at bat yet with his, super aggressive, just flood the zone with bullshit.
But Obama is still, the reason I say the social media world, Obama was still a traditional candidate.
Yeah.
Trump wasn't. Hillary Clinton, still a traditional candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Trump again wasn't.
And
because we had COVID.
And Obama's whole deal was not losing his shit. Trump's whole deal is lose your shit in public every day.
I mean, this election, even going into, this is why a lot of the progressives and the Democrat socialists are winning, is because people are agitated with the status quo and people want change, and people are seeing that change in the individuals that can dominate and actually message better. El Said was a great messenger. Honestly, the two that just had that run or just came close in
Hong and the guy who won.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a tad bit better messenger, but she got media recognition and name recognition once she started getting on these shows and people calling her crazy and stuff like that, and people started looking into her, and some of the stuff she was saying, yeah, sure, she had some things, but there were some things that were resonating with people. That's why she ended up so close.
Yeah, well, one thing is when you go from not being a politician to being a politician, everything you tweeted out on everything you all of a sudden becomes fair game to attack you. So, you know, you go on podcasts she got attacked for saying that, you know, she doesn't like Thanksgiving. She had to backpedal on that. The Al Said, I mean, he was already running for office, but he said that football has too much toxic masculinity. Even though he was a great football player, captain of his team, they're going to pick and choose, cherry pick all your stuff. And you know, I've been on Twitter now for, I don't know, probably 17 years. If I ever wanted to run for office, I'd be held responsible for, I'd probably put out 100,000 tweets, and you know, most of them jokes, but they would cherry pick. You know, I can't run for, I mean, I could, but
you can run for office and everything like that. Hey, Rick, just really quickly, that's what Clarence Thomas was complaining about, and I'm not a Clarence Thomas fan, but apparently earlier yesterday, he was at a event where he was saying that he was hitting back at critics who questioned his blackness over his political views, because we know he's very conservative. So he was actually at a Hoover Institution conversation with Peter Robinson and everything like that, and he was talking about his praise of Thomas Sowell and another conservative, and he was talking about his views on school busing and whether the busing wasn't always popular and all along those lines. But definitely it sounds like he was saying that some of the same things that you're saying, that he might have had some views that were very conservative that got him in trouble, and now people are questioning his views.
Yeah, people get annoyed with Clarence Thomas because he benefited from affirmative action, yet he hates affirmative action. But that's a whole separate discussion.
Oh yeah, yeah. He said that he said Sowell's idea when he was a Yale student in '72, saying he reflectively dismissed black education myths and tragedies because he believed no African Americans should hold those views and everything like that. So it looks like he's a big fan.
All right, what else can we hit here that we haven't hit? Oh, I want to talk about what happens after the midterms, which is the lame duck session. So after the midterms, the Republicans probably lose the House. They maybe lose the Senate, but that happens in early November, and the new House and Senate don't get seated for 2 more months. So there's about 6 weeks of the House and Senate being in session when it's still the old guys, and so we know that in that 2 months, that 6 weeks, November and December after the election, before the new House, they are going to try to pull some shit. And also in the next 80 days, they will try to pull some shit.
I mean, yeah, in that lame duck session, they are definitely going to shift more power to Trump. That's what they're going to try and do. Again, we already know the play. He already put Todd Blanche, his handpicked DNI, who has never had any intelligence. So they're going to shift as much power into the presidency as possible. Then on top of that, they're going to challenge the election, if not try and, we can't have an election because we're at war and so on and so forth, or China. Yeah, so we know the play is going to happen. And then if they do challenge the election, because they have Todd Blanche in that position that he's in, they're going to overturn the election. There's going to be tons of chaos this coming winter.
But so it makes the pissant, the picayune, the trivial crap that Trump focuses on is almost good news when he wants to cover sculptures in DC with gold so they're all shiny. When he wants to put his name back on the Kennedy Center, we should maybe be grateful that he's paying attention to that shit instead of really focusing on like tearing down the elections.
Well, he's focusing on that because it's a distraction. This transgender issue is a distraction because in the background they're doing a lot of dangerous things. This is why there's stuff going on, and Sasha can tell us about it, in Ukraine and Russia. They're not going to cover here because it's easy to tell you what's going on than to actually see the actual legitimate news reports and understand what's happening.
So, Sasha, tell us, what aren't they covering? What don't we see
Yeah,
here?
we have in 4 minutes, we have Ukrainian show. You see, the problem is that it is very difficult to understand what's going on right now, today. And even if you do understand and figure all that out, tomorrow's situation could be very different from what it is today. Also, the Western media, depends who they are affiliated with, create a different picture of what it is in reality. Some of them are picturing that, well, Russia is all over Ukraine and they're going winners to win this war sooner or later just because of their size and their access to mobilization of people and so on. On the other hand, Ukrainians have successfully using the drones and the robots. So Russian, even if they will have 10-1 advantage, there is very little mileage they can gain out of it because they cannot make any movement ahead of time. But they have little robots that are destroying and killing everything around them. Everything and everybody. So why do you say, okay, so Russia has extra 50,000 people, 500,000 people, so they will be all killed in next few days. So where is the advantage? However, Ukraine is doing devastating long-range attacks by missiles and sometimes by the weapons like missiles right into the Russian territory up to 2,000, 3,000 kilometers away from Ukrainian borders. So the Russia is all, I've seen the pictures, that almost any place in Russia is under fire right now already or potentially, so it could be tomorrow or next week. So the situation is very fluid and you have to really go through a lot of information channels to really figure out what's going on. Well, with that, I can say goodbye because I'm going to Ukrainian show right now.
Okay, thank you. Good weekend. So I looked it up, and Ukraine has been taking back territory, but it's not much. It's 200. They've taken back 230 square miles, which is probably less. It's probably like 1/10 of 1% of what Russia has taken from them. But at least Russia isn't gaining ground.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just, again, like Sasha was saying, yeah, whoever controls that, controls the media, controls the message.
Okay. Anything else in the last 30 seconds?
Watch Teach You a Lesson. I want to hear what you have to think about it.
Okay, all right, I will do that. What are we watching?